You check into the hotel room. The bed looks fine. The pillows are soft. You are exhausted from the drive, but at 2 a.m. you are still awake. Every small sound feels sharper than it should. The hum of the air conditioner. A door somewhere down the hall. Your own heartbeat. You tell yourself it's just an unfamiliar mattress. But that's not what's actually happening. Your brain is running a program older than hotels, older than houses, older than language itself. And once you see it, you'll never sleep in a new place the same way again. For decades, scientists assumed insomnia in a new environment was simple psychology. New surroundings, mild anxiety, maybe some caffeine still in your system. Case closed. Then, in 2016, sleep researchers Yuka Sasaki and Masako Tamaki at Brown University put people in a sleep lab and watched their brains overnight. Not just once, twice, first in an unfamiliar lab bed. Then again, later, in the same room, now familiar. What they found didn't fit the old explanation at all. On the first night, one hemisphere of the brain stayed measurably more active than the other. Not both sides settling into deep rest together, the way sleep is supposed to work. One side stood down. The other side stayed partially on duty. By the second night in the same room, that asymmetry disappeared. Both hemispheres relaxed equally. Your brain wasn't reacting to a strange pillow. It was deciding night by night how much of itself it could afford to shut off. Why would a brain do that? Here's where the story gets stranger and older. Sasaki and Tamaki weren't the first to notice one-sided vigilance during sleep. Biologist Niels Rattenborg had spent years studying something similar in birds. Ducks resting in a row on the water's edge do something remarkable. The birds on the outside of the group keep one eye open. Half of their brain stays awake, watching for predators, while the other half sleeps normally. The birds in the middle of the row, protected on both sides, sleep with both eyes closed. Position determines vigilance. Exposure determines how much of the brain gets to rest. Dolphins do a version of this too. They can't afford to lose consciousness completely, or they'd stop breathing and drown. So they sleep one hemisphere at a time, alternating for years, sometimes for their entire lives. None of these animals learned this behavior. It's built in. A standing negotiation between the need for rest and the need to survive the night. Your brain appears to be running the exact same negotiation. When you sleep somewhere new, some ancient part of your neural architecture doesn't know the room is a hotel. It doesn't know there's a locked door, a deadbolt, a front desk downstairs. It only registers one thing. This is unfamiliar territory, and unfamiliar territory has, for nearly the entire history of your species, been the most dangerous place to lose consciousness. For most of human history, sleeping meant total vulnerability. No claws, no armor, no night vision. Just a body lying still in the dark for 8 hours. Defenseless against predators, rival groups, or simple environmental threats you hadn't yet learned to anticipate. A familiar cave, a familiar camp, a familiar patch of forest. These came with known escape routes and known dangers. You'd already mapped the threats. You knew which sounds meant nothing and which meant everything. A new environment came with none of that information. So the brain compensated the only way it could. It kept part of itself standing watch. Anthropologists studying small-scale societies have long noted a related pattern. Sleep in many traditional communities isn't a single unbroken block the way modern culture assumes it should be. It's segmented, watchful, and socially distributed, with one or two people effectively on alert while others rest. The group, collectively, almost never sleeps with everyone fully offline at once. Your brain's first-night watchman might be the individual, internal version of that same ancient arrangement. When you can't rely on a sleeping companion to notice danger, you become your own sentry. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. This isn't a flaw in your sleep system. It's not your brain malfunctioning under stress. It's a functioning security feature, doing exactly what it evolved to do, in exactly the situation it evolved for. The problem is simply that the feature can't tell the difference between a Paleolithic clearing and a Marriott. Your ancient alarm system has no update mechanism for deadbolts. It doesn't know your phone can call for help. It doesn't understand that the danger outside your hotel door is, statistically, almost certainly nothing at all. It only knows one rule: new place. stay partly alert, so it keeps one hemisphere a little closer to the surface. Lighter sleep stages, more frequent awakenings, a heightened sensitivity to sound, exactly the kind you notice at 2 a.m. Convinced the air conditioner has never been this loud in your life. Researchers have given this phenomenon a name, the first night effect. It shows up reliably in sleep labs, hotel stays, hospital admissions, even the first night in a college dorm. And it fades almost as predictably as it appears. Sleep 2 or 3 nights in the same unfamiliar room, and your brain starts treating it like known territory. The watchman stands down. Both hemispheres finally rest together. You've essentially retaught your ancient alarm system that this new cave is safe, which raises an interesting question about modern life. How often are you sleeping in places your ancient brain has quietly flagged as unresolved? Business travelers who spend their careers hopping between unfamiliar rooms may be paying a real, measurable cost one night of partial vigilance at a time, over and over without ever fully clearing the alert. New parents in a different bedroom setup, students in their first weeks of a dorm, anyone who just moved into a new apartment and can't figure out why the first week of sleep felt so thin. None of them are broken. They're all running a program built for a world of caves and predators, applied to a world of key cards and Wi-Fi passwords. Understanding this doesn't shut the system off. You can't reason your way past a hemisphere on watch, but it does change what those restless first nights mean. That light sleep, that hyper-awareness of small sounds, isn't anxiety malfunctioning. It's a very old kind of care. Your brain quietly deciding that you're worth guarding, even when there's nothing left in the dark to guard you from. So tonight, in that unfamiliar room, when the air conditioner sounds louder than it has any right to, you'll know what's actually happening. You're not failing to sleep. Part of you is simply still keeping watch.